Hi, it's Tom with a look at Pro Evolution Soccer 2018, and to kick off the comparisons right away, here's the full PS4 release of 2017 versus 2018, using the same controller to play each game at the same time. Each of course keeps that Fox engine foundation, and that's clear to see given the huge similarities. Built with Metal Gear Solid 5 in mind as a cross-gen solution, it's a shame this tech isn't used for more games in general. Even 3 years on since it first debuted, the features it brings to the table make a big impact on the quality of the Pro Evo series visuals. Physically based lighting and post effects to simulate a camera lens still help the engine stick out from the crowd. For a football sim, having an accurate lighting model plus visual extras like motion blur, depth of field and lens flare really help bring the package alive, especially in replays. Factor in some of the most accurate recreations of real life players in a sports game, at least for the main stars, and Pro Evo is still a great match for the technology. But what's actually improved for 2018? Well, you already know the score with annual football games, at least usually. Whether it's FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer, the improvements each year tend to be iterative rather than revolutionary. You get a string of new buzzwords to explain a new technology, a subtle change in player animations or ball physics. Ultimately though, it's only every couple of years that we see a substantial overhaul in one area. For Pro Evo 2018 then, Konami claims to bring more new additions here than in any other entry over the last 10 years. It's a big promise, and closely analysing the game from every angle, it's clear there are changes. Let's start with the stadiums. An updated method of realising physically based objects in-game is the selling point of 2018. Called the Real Capture System, Konami claims 20,000 components are updated across the game, notably in stadiums like the Signal, Iduna Park and Camp Nou. The idea is a better process of capturing a real-life material leads to more accurate results using the game engine. It's a different technology, but for example, we've seen amazing results in games like Star Wars Battlefront, where a process called photogrammetry revolutionized the look of the game on Frostbite. For Konami and the Fox engine this year though, the visual gains aren't as obvious as I'd hoped. You can see for yourself in Barcelona's home stadium, one of the main ones meant to get this overhaul. Yes, the tunnel area is updated with extra wall decorations, and 2018 does look a clear enhancement in this one spot over 2017. But once the squads arrive on the pitch itself, the differences are very slight, if non-existent. Taking the free cam mode in a replay for a stroll around, we're getting the same ground textures, crowds and geometry on the stadium. There are small adjustments to the camera crew and barriers, plus the adverts, but it's nowhere near the revolution you'd expect. And otherwise, you can see effects like ambient occlusion, depth of field and lens flare are as they always were. The game continues to run at a 1920 by 1080 native resolution on PS4, which is what you see here, and there's no sign of the basics of the engine work, the shadow resolution or the level of texture filtering changing this time around. That's not to say there's no upgrade in 2018. Fox Engine's excellent lighting continues, and one of the key areas of change is in the shader work across clothing and grass. Let's move over to Anfield for this. See how the creasing on the Liverpool kit is altered for the newer game. It takes a slow motion shot to catch it, but there's a slightly baggier, more natural look to the way the material stretches around the player. A small but welcome change. More obvious is the grass. Now from the regular top-down view, the gut reaction really is that grass has been downgraded if anything. This is showing Anfield at night in summer with matching conditions, fine grass and normal wear. And the fact is it looks a lot more simplistic this year, a cleaner, more clinical look that doesn't get across the same sense of depth of 2017's. Anfield isn't a one-off either. I've seen this across several stadia so far, some with a newer grass pattern, but usually with a more basic look to the material. The upside? Well, to achieve the grass shader effect in 2017, Konami used a perspective-based culling method to remove the shader when it leaves the camera view. This is built using squared chunks across the field, but the flaw was you can see these shader chunks disappearing at the edges of the camera in replay mode. For 2018, well, the grass has a very different look, but at the very least there's no pop-in of chunks this time around. See on the ground here during replays, there's a consistent look to the pitch as I pan the camera around. Which brings me to my final point, and the last main change at a renderer level. Strangely, the screen-based motion blur effect is downgraded in 2018. At least for the standard PS4, again it's only noticeable in replays and cutscenes, but fast panning motions show an unpleasant banding effect around the action. If I freeze a frame, you can see the problem. Any object in motion is splintered into multiple samples, creating an obvious trail. Pro Evo 2017 uses a similar number of samples, but blends them together more effectively to create a cleaner edge. That's all based on the standard PS4, but the good news for PS4 Pro users is there's an improvement to the blur effect. You get the blended look to motion blur when playing 2018 on that machine. It brings it more in line with 2017's quality level, though really, it's strange the regular PS4 isn't using this preset. What you see here is the PS4 Pro's 1080p output mode, which also runs with much improved anti-aliasing over the standard PS4, though still with plenty of rough edges. And of course for 4K TV users, there's a native 3840x2160 output from the console with that mode selected. Just from a cursory look, it's a solid effort. Alright, there's one more thing to touch on here, the players themselves. With a materials-based lighting system, the Fox engine does an excellent job of realising the big stars. Hair detail in particular is standout, and even up close, it's uncanny how close it gets to the real thing. Equally, skin shaders and the added specular layer for sweat play against the stadium floodlights to strike some almost photorealistic moments. Obviously, not every player is absolutely spot on. You'll always catch an odd angle or facial expression, and there's a clear pecking order to who gets more attention. In the main though, this is Pro Evolution Soccer's strong point, though it's a shame you just can't appreciate this level of detail from the regular exhibition camera. Comparing 2017 to 2018, skin shaders are largely the same here. Meanwhile, stars like Costa, Pogba and Ronaldo all get a facelift in some way or another, and the obligatory hairstyle update too. It's less a case of being better or worse, but simply more up to date with the going style of the player. But with a database of hundreds of names, it's hard to expect everyone to see this level of attention. Even relative heavyweights like Cavani and Iniesta just don't see an upgrade in 2018, but that's maybe too much to ask for every year. Taken as a whole, the new features of Pro Evolution Soccer 2018 are more focused on its systems, the gameplay, than the visual side. In fact, it's a bit of a letdown if you're hoping for any obvious changes on the technical front, with the setback in motion blur and the sidestep in grass rendering being two obvious points. But the game at its core is the same slick 60fps football sim that Konami's been developing with each year. It's come along leaps and bounds, especially since that jump to Fox engine in the 2014 edition. But with that, we're out of time. If you did enjoy this comparison, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as ever, there's the original source file to this video at our Patreon at digitalfoundry.net, so feel free to check that out. But until next time, thanks for watching.